Hi y'all, today we're going to be talking about the VEH mod, the Vonu Sovereignty 600-167 light machine gun designed for close quarters combat. The MA is a very good LMG. Actually, there's not a whole lot to say on it in terms of its technical features. There's not a lot of gimmicks to it. It is just a simply very nice to use 600-167. If you've ever used the Anchor, it will feel quite similar. So as I mentioned, it's 600 RPM at 167 damage, so a decent time to kill. 550 meter a second velocity, which is pretty solid, a 4.6 second long and 3.45 second short reload, which is pretty average. You get a 60 round magazine, which is fine, it should do the trick for you. You get good hipfire aim stats, and as for ADS stats, they're just okay. It really does feel like the Anchor, but it's been given a Vonu overhaul. It's a good LMG though, it is absolutely a good LMG, it's absolutely worth being near directive if you're choosing to go for the Betelgeuse. And honestly, it's good enough to justify running over the Orion in some cases if you prefer a higher damage light machine gun. So in the way of attachments, you get your standard 1 to 4x lineup. Obviously, I'd recommend a 1x, like with everything, but if you want to run the 4 or even the ARs, you can. In the barrel, honestly, all the slots here are fine. If you're going to go for the hipfire build, which does work with this weapon, short barrel is fine. If you want to go aim down sights, the compensator's fine. And if you want this flash suppressor, it just has a different name, it's fine as a slot filler too. On the rail, pretty much everything here is viable with the exception of the power core. Both grips are fine if you're going for an aimed on sight build. I'd personally trend towards the regular forward grip because the mod does not have much vertical, you don't really need the angled. The vertical pull isn't super severe. The laser's good if you're going to go for the hipfire build with the short barrel. The vented power core, in my opinion, is a hard pass. So basically the way the vented power core works is that it takes away the long reload penalty. So, if you run the mag dry, you only have to reload for 3.45 seconds. Problem is, you won't be running the mod dry very much, and the recoil penalty you suffer from the vented power core isn't worth the trade, in my opinion. It's just not a gun you're mag dumping in the first place. In the ammunition slot, you've got soft point unstable. Soft point is a very safe pick. Obviously, unstable's fine if you want to run a really wacky build, especially if you're going to be hipfiring it, but I would personally stick to soft point. So, of course, live play. It is currently 6:27 PM on Cottering at time of recording. And, yeah, we're just going to jump into, a fight. Show you what it's like in live combat. Of course, you know the drill by now. And, yeah, so the MA is just a good LMG. There's actually not a whole lot to talk about with the MA in the way of its own gimmicks because it doesn't have any. Outside of the vented power core and having access to unstable ammunition, the MA doesn't really have anything super gimmicky going for it, which is good. It makes the gun extremely reliable and extremely nice to use. Of course, if you have bad aim, you will still get absolutely lasered on, such as myself. But if you have the mechanical aim to make the MA work, it will work excellently for you. Whether you choose to go for the hipfire or the aimed down sights build is honestly up to you. The gun does work fine in both, although I personally completed my Araxium with the hipfire build, and prior to the short barrel being a thing as well, might I add. But the grip is absolutely worth it too. It's just, did I just get roadkilled there? Wow, I didn't think I even came in contact with that center. Okay. Well, that's not a very good start to some live gameplay. Mind you, it's Scarfield Reliquary. It's a 50-50 48 player Scarfield Reliquary, so it's probably not going to be a very good fight no matter what I do. But the MA is a very nice LMG. That said, it is important to remember that it is based on the Anchor, on NC, and honestly, for what it is, the Anchor is, I would argue, better, but it's still a very good LMG. And as I mentioned, it should absolutely be in your Betelgeuse lineup, just because of how good it is. But other than that, it feels like a 167 close-range LMG. There's actually not a whole lot to say about it in that regard. It probably feels exactly like how you'd expect it to. I will say the thing I struggled with on the MA Araxium myself was the way the gun feels. And this is a problem I still struggle with some weapons. But to me, the MA feels strange. It's absolutely a personal problem, and this is just me as a player. But to me, I've never really been able to nail down the way this gun feels. I'm personally not a fan of it, but that is just a me problem. A skill issue, if you may. So, you can probably discount that for yourself. It's just something I'd like to point out. Because, in my opinion, the way a gun feels can be very important in determining how much you actually like a weapon, no matter on its soft stats. But it's a good LMG. It's a good LMG. There's actually not really anything to complain about. There's not really any gimmicks I need to talk about. It's not in need of any balance changes. It's just a good LMG. You know, unfortunately, it won't always be the best, but that's just the way it is. So, you know, I don't actually, like I said, I don't really have a whole lot to say on the MA because it's just a good LMG. As always, that's the problem with the weapons I review that are actually good. There's just not a whole lot to talk about. It's absolutely worth the cert cost, it's absolutely worth putting the metal on. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. Someone's got us dialed in with a Scorpion. And he's got my head dialed in with a Kindred. Most unfortunate. But yeah, it's good LMG. Actually, honestly, this fight is not very good, so I'll probably just recap it there. I mean, I did get, what, 6 kills? Surely that'll be enough for you to determine how this weapon is. So, the MA is just good. It's just a good LMG, it's worth your time, it's worth using. It's worth putting the Araxium on. You may like it over the Orion even, but I would definitely say put the Araxium on it. It's worth your time. So, thank you all, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.